question for the Minister, and I hope that ends the matter. Now, the Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, this National-led government, of course, has 4 key priorities for our second term as outlined by our Prime Minister. First is to responsibly manage the government's finances. Secondly, to build a competitive and productive economy and lift, of course, the standard of living of all New Zealanders. The third is the rebuild of Christchurch. And the fourth is to deliver better public services. And it's on that last point, Mr Speaker, as Minister of Police and Corrections, that I want to talk about today to expand on the Prime Minister's address to this House. Under National, over the last 3 years, crime rates have fallen. And my predecessor, the Honourable Judith Collins, oversaw immense improvements in corrections. And I want to confirm in the House today that we remain firmly focused on preventing crime, reducing reoffending, and most important of all, keeping our communities safe. Now, we're all aware that we are in very difficult economic times. So this isn't just about throwing money at problems. We don't have the money to throw at problems. It's about working smarter. And one of the most important and exciting initiatives to be introduced by this National-led government is policing excellence. This involves about 8 different streams of work that will see the police, and have seen the police, focusing more on crime prevention, making our communities safer, reducing offending, and all of that, of course, leads to fewer victims. That means less families grieving for our loved lost ones, or being affected by white-collar crime, which can, of course, have long-term implications for people, as well as things as minor as burglaries, which are a very difficult emotional invasion for people, no matter how small the issues are. So policing excellence will increase productivity and efficiency of our police, and they have set themselves targets of a 13% reduction in reported crime. They want to see more crime prevented before it happens, so looking for a decrease in the amount of crime that happens, and as a result of that, a 13% decrease in the amount of crime that's recorded, and a 19% decrease in police non-traffic apprehensions resolved by prosecutions over the next 3 to 5 years. Big targets for the police, but they are determined to achieve those, Mr Speaker. Amongst their work streams are prevention first. Now, this is where we're going to give our staff, our police staff, many more opportunities to be out there in communities, working in areas where they know there is high risk and looking to prevent crime before it happens. When I talk to some of those frontline policemen out there, they say this is the stuff that they joined the police to do. They don't want to be arresting people, they want to be making sure that they are stopping crime from happening. Neighbourhood policing teams, 32 of which have now been deployed across the country, Mr Speaker. They again are working in areas where the intelligence tells them where the most crime is committed, where young people are most likely to be congregating and getting into trouble. They're out there working with those communities, coming up with all sorts of ways of preventing crimes and making those communities safer. Working on alternative resolutions as an alternative to taking someone through the court process. Really important with our young people, because the evidence is quite clear that once we get those young people into that cycle of turning up at court, it's very hard to get them out of it. Mr Speaker, we are also looking at keeping our frontline police far more mobile. One of the worst parts of their jobs is having to go back to the office and write everything up. So we're looking at trialling technology so that they can actually be recording their actions at the time. They don't have to stop what they're doing and go back into an office and fill in forms. We're keeping them out there on the street, so we are looking to increase the number of hours that police are out there working on our streets. And one of the last, Mr Speaker, is the crime reporting line. Now, this is underway currently in Auckland City, counties Manukau and Bay of Plenty, and is due to be expanded this year. And I have to say I had reason to use this myself, where it's just a phone, the police are just a phone call away. You don't have to go down to the station and fill in forms. You can talk to someone over the telephone, report the crime, give all the details, get your police number, and it saves an awful lot of effort on behalf of the victims. And particularly in my area where rustling is a huge issue that has grown over the last couple of years, and farmers say to me, gosh, to report the crime, we've got to stop what we're doing, and we're working, drive down the coast, it could be an hour and a half or so to report the crime, fill in the forms and drive back. Actually, they don't want to do that, and soon they will be able to pick up a telephone and report the crime. So in summary, Mr. Speaker, policing excellence is putting more effort into crime prevention, more hours into frontline policing, and that is leading to lower rates of offending, and that of course means that fewer people in our communities are the victims of crime. So, and that's what we want. That's what we're focused on, reducing prevention, and of course we're interested in reducing reoffending, because prisoner rehabilitation is extremely important. When you look at the figures for our prisoners, within a 12-month period, prisoners released from prison, 45% of them are reconvicted, and 27% of them are re-imprisoned within 12 months of release. And after 24 months, after 2 years, 62% of them are reconvicted and 39% are re-imprisoned. So there's a cycle that these people get on, and we are determined to make sure that we can get more and more of them out of that cycle, back into their families and their communities and contributing to society. So what have we done? Well, over the last 3 years we've doubled the drug and alcohol treatment places for prisoners, and we have doubled them, and we will continue to roll out more treatment places for prisoners. We've boosted literacy and numeracy education in prisoners, which was languishing under the previous Labor government, and we've increased dramatically the number of prisoners who are receiving work skills training. It's so important that they have those skills so that when they leave prison they are able to take their place in the workforce, and of course we are determined to work with them to make sure that that happens. And just last week, while I was visiting the Auckland Women's Prison, I spoke to offenders who were involved in the distribution of food to other prisons around New Zealand, and they not only have huge pride in the work that they are doing, but they are using that opportunity to gain their NCEA qualifications. And the women I spoke to were aiming for their NCA level 2. They were pushing me to ensure that they could sit NCA level 3. There were some minor technicalities around the use of computers that we need to resolve in order for them to achieve that. And in fact, this week, one prisoner in Christchurch, I understand, has achieved that National Certificate Level 3 in distribution. That means that these women, when they leave prison, will have a skill that they can take with them into the workplace that gives them the opportunity then, using our 90 days Act, to help them get that first job, to get that next step on the ladder that gets them back into the community and out of this reoffending, re-imprisonment cycle. So we believe we've made enormous strides in corrections over the last 3 years, and for that the management deserves credit. They have done an outstanding job improving the performance of our prisons and focusing on that reoffending rates, all part of making our communities safer. So finally, Mr. Speaker, can I say that refer to a report that was released a couple of days ago showing that New Zealand confidence in their New Zealand police force has soared, and that is simply a reflection of all the good work that this national-led government has supported both the police and the corrections in to make our communities safer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Leanne Dalzell.
Mr Speaker, may I begin by